When was the last time disrespect sent you a heads up? It doesn't, does it? It just shows up in a sharp tone, a sarcastic comment, a dismissive look, and in that one moment, something catches fire inside you. Your chest gets tight, your mind starts racing, and your ego screams for a fight, whispering, "You can't let them get away with that." Most of us listen to that voice. We either explode with anger or we shrink and go silent. But both are traps. They're reactions that hand over all your power, leaving you feeling bitter and weak. But what if there was a third path? A path where your calm is your shield and your response quietly proves you're the strongest person in the room. The ancient philosophy of Stoicism, particularly from the Roman Stoics, teaches this way. It isn't about ignoring disrespect. It's about mastering yourself so completely that nothing can touch your inner peace. In those moments, how you respond becomes your reputation. Disrespect is a pop quiz, a test of your self-control, your standards, and your true character. And most people fail it instantly. Today, we're going to break down the 5 things you must never do when you're disrespected. These aren't rules for being weak. They're disciplines for quiet, unshakable strength. Section 1. Never react in the heat of the moment. The first and most critical rule is simple. Don't react in the heat of the moment. When someone disrespects you, your emotions surge forward like a tidal wave. Anger feels good. It feels justified. Sharp words line up on your tongue, ready to launch. Your body is already in fight or flight mode before your brain can even catch up. You feel your face get hot, your chest tighten, that primal urge to hit back. This is instinct, but it's not strength. A person who reacts instantly is a person controlled by others. Their mood, their tone, their actions, all of it is being dictated by someone else's bad behavior. That isn't strength, it's surrender, dressed up as courage. The person who disrespected you is often counting on you to lose it. They want a reaction. It proves they have power over you, confirms they got under your skin, and gives them the twisted satisfaction of having an effect. When you lash out, you're not just losing your temper, you're handing them a victory. You've become a puppet, and they're pulling the strings. The great Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote about this constantly in his private meditations. A core idea he returned to was this: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The disrespect is the outside event. You can't control it. But that tiny gap between what happens and how you respond, that's where all your power lives. That sacred pause is your freedom. The philosopher Epictetus, who was born a slave and knew a thing or two about powerlessness, taught that we aren't disturbed by things, but by the story we tell ourselves about them. The insult is just words. The action is just an action. They have no power to harm you on their own. The harm comes from your judgment of it, your belief that it has made you smaller and that it requires a loud, immediate correction. So, how do we create that pause? First, breathe. Before a single word comes out of your mouth, take one slow, deep breath. This simple physical act interrupts your body's panic button. It sends a signal to your nervous system that you're not in mortal danger, creating just enough space for your rational mind to walk back into the room. Second, use the power of strategic silence. In a world obsessed with getting the last word, silence is a superpower. People who use disrespect as a weapon expect a fight. When you give them nothing but a calm, steady gaze, it throws them completely off. Your silence isn't weakness, it's control. It forces them to sit with the ugliness of their own actions, with no drama to feed on. Your silence says, far more powerfully than any comeback, I'm not playing this game. Internally, use this pause to retreat to what the Stoics called the inner citadel, a fortress inside your mind that no one can breach unless you grant them permission. Remind yourself, their words are just their opinion, a reflection of their own character, insecurities, or ignorance, not a verdict on yours. If someone screamed that the sky was green, you wouldn't get angry. You'd just think their perception was off. Treat disrespect the same way. This whole discipline is about practicing the Stoic virtue of temperance, or self-control. By mastering that first moment, you aren't being passive. You're taking the first and most important step to prove that you're the one in control, not of them, but of yourself. And that's the only control that really matters. Section 2. Never over-explain yourself. This leads us straight to our second rule. Never over-explain yourself. After being disrespected, there's a powerful urge to justify your worth. You want to defend yourself, clarify the misunderstanding, and prove you're not who they implied you are. You feel this desperate need to make them see your value. But listen closely. People who are secure in their worth don't feel the need to rush to its defense. The Roman philosopher Seneca knew that true dignity doesn't need a frantic defense. The moment you start desperately explaining yourself to someone who just disrespected you, you've moved from a position of strength to one of negotiation. You're basically asking for their approval, seeking validation from the very person who just showed you none. Over-explaining is a subtle form of begging. It says, "Please, see me the way I see myself. Please approve of me." This gives the other person all the power. You've just handed them the judge's gavel in the courtroom of your self-esteem. Epictetus taught that you should speak your truth, but without any attachment to whether people accept it. Your worth isn't up for debate. It's a fact you live by. People who respect you won't need a long defense. People who are determined to misunderstand you won't be swayed by one anyway. Think of it this way. If a respected mentor questions you, an explanation is a sign of collaboration. But when you offer it to someone who just belittled you, it just looks like you're defensive. The more you try to convince them of your worth, the more you prove to them that you doubt it yourself. So what's the alternative? Restraint and precision. First, and often best, is dignified silence. Paired with calm composure, it says everything you need to. It non-verbally states, "Your opinion of me is not my problem. I know who I am." The second option is a short, clear response, preferably in private. Instead of a long story about your feelings, use direct language. If someone makes a demeaning joke about your work, you don't list your achievements. You just say, calmly, "I don't appreciate comments about my career. Let's keep it professional." Notice it's a statement, not a request. It sets a boundary, clean and simple. The third option is all internal. Instead of wasting energy explaining yourself to them, use it to examine yourself for times yourself. A Stoic asks, "Is there any truth here?" If the answer is no, then their words are just noise like a barking dog and can be dismissed. If the answer is yes, then you just got a valuable piece of feedback, even if it was delivered poorly. You can be grateful for the lesson without being grateful for the teacher. By refusing to over-explain, you reclaim your power. You send the message that your worth is not up for negotiation. You become the sole authority on your own value. And that kind of self-possession is magnetic. If you're tired of wasting energy trying to prove yourself, go ahead and subscribe. We're a community committed to building this kind of inner clarity and protecting our peace. Join us. Section 3. Never pretend it didn't happen. On the flip side of exploding is another common trap, pretending the disrespect didn't happen. A lot of people think ignoring it is taking the high road. They avoid confrontation at all costs, thinking that's the path to peace. But this isn't Stoicism. It's fear disguised as tranquility. Unaddressed disrespect doesn't just vanish. It builds up. It turns into resentment that quietly eats away at you. True peace isn't built on avoidance. It's built on alignment when your beliefs, your actions, and what you tolerate are all in sync. When you silently swallow disrespect, you create an internal conflict, and that misalignment is a slow poison. Every time you let unacceptable behavior slide, you're teaching people how they're allowed to treat you. Your silence becomes permission. The boundary you didn't defend is now the new normal. Over time, this erodes your self-respect. You start to feel powerless, not because of what others did, but because you failed to stand up for yourself. A Stoic doesn't react impulsively, but they don't abandon their boundaries either. The path isn't explosion or suppression. It's calm, intentional action. So, how do you address it without starting a war? First, name the behavior, not the person. Instead of, "You're so rude," Try, "That comment was out of line," or "I'm not okay with the way you're speaking to me." This focuses on the specific action, not their whole identity, making it easier to address without them getting defensive. Second, consider the context. With a stranger, affirm "that's not acceptable," followed by you physically leaving, might be the strongest move. You're not running away, you're choosing to protect your energy. But in relationships you value, you might try a different approach, sometimes called calling in. You could say, "When you said X, it landed as really dismissive. Can you help me understand what you meant?" This opens the door for a conversation, not just a confrontation. Third, keep your tone calm and neutral. Your body language matters just as much as your words. Stand tall, make eye contact, and speak in a steady voice. This shows you're acting from a place of firm self-respect, not anger or fear. It is not reasonable to let yourself be treated in a way that violates your dignity. Pretending it didn't happen is a betrayal of yourself. By addressing it with clarity and composure, you're not creating a conflict, you're restoring order. You're reminding yourself and the world what your standards are. Section 4. Never seek revenge through others. Our fourth discipline tackles one of our most tempting impulses. Don't seek revenge by gossiping or turning people against your offender. When you've been disrespected, you want justice. But instead of handling it directly, it's easy to fall into the trap of indirect retaliation. You complain to co-workers to get them on your side. You spread gossip to damage the other person's reputation. You try to build alliances, turning a personal issue into a tribal war. This isn't strength, it's weakness wearing the mask of strategy. You've now made your own peace dependent on whether other people believe you or agree to dislike someone. You're chained to the offense, replaying it over and over. The Stoic path is one of radical self-reliance. You handle your battles directly or not at all. You have two powerful options. The first is direct confrontation, handled with calm precision, as we've discussed, one-on-one. No audience, no drama. You state your boundary. The victory isn't in their response. It's in the fact that you acted with courage and integrity. The second, and often more powerful option, is to walk away. Not just from the room, but mentally and emotionally. You decide the person and the situation are no longer worthy of your energy. You don't gossip, you don't complain, you simply make them irrelevant in your mind. This is the ultimate act of self-respect. To fight the urge for revenge, the Stoics had a powerful mental tool. They focused on the idea of our shared humanity. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to see others not as enemies, but as flawed people, just like him. He wrote, "We are made for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like eyelids." When someone disrespects you, try to see their behavior not as a personal attack, but as a symptom of their own insecurity, ignorance, or pain. As the saying goes, hurt people hurt people. When you can see their actions through a lens of pity instead of anger, the desire for revenge just melts away. Seeking revenge through others keeps you stuck in their game. The goal isn't to defeat them, but to make their actions so insignificant that they have no power over you. That's real freedom. Section 5. Never lower yourself to their level. And this brings us to our final and maybe most important rule. Never, ever lower your standards to match their behavior. Someone is sarcastic, so you fire back with more sarcasm. They give you a dismissive attitude, so you mirror it right back. You trade insult for insult, giving them a taste of their own medicine. In the moment, it feels like justice. It feels like you're winning, but it's a profound loss. The second you mirror their disrespect, you're no longer operating by your values, you're operating by theirs. You've let their low standards dictate your behavior. This is the most complete form of surrender. You might win the petty exchange, but you lose your alignment with the person you claim you want to be. As Marcus Aurelius famously put it, the best revenge is to be unlike your enemy. Not just a little better, but fundamentally unlike them. Lowering yourself makes you indistinguishable from your offender. To anyone watching, it's just two people being ugly to each other. You've traded the moral high ground for a cheap, fleeting sense of satisfaction that leaves you feeling small. The alternative is to remain virtuous, especially when others aren't. This is the ultimate test. It's the perfect training ground for all 4 Stoic virtues: wisdom to see the situation for what it is, justice to act with integrity, courage to stay calm under fire, and temperance to resist the urge to strike back. This doesn't mean being a doormat, it means choosing your response from a higher plane. Instead of trying to out-insult them, you can choose to outclass them. A calm, witty reframe can shut down disrespect more effectively than a direct attack. For example, you might say with a calm smile, "I've learned it's best not to argue with people who seem to enjoy conflict." This statement defines the dynamic and explains your refusal to engage, all while you keep your composure. Ultimately, the goal is to develop a kind of psychological immunity. You do this by consistently stripping insults of their power, seeing them as nothing but external noise. You focus so intensely on your own character that you just don't have the time or energy to be bothered by the flaws of others. Your standard is your shield. By refusing to lower it, you become untouchable. So, let's put it all together. These 5 disciplines: never reacting in the heat of the moment, never over-explaining, never pretending it didn't happen, never seeking revenge through others, and never lowering your standards are more than just rules. They're a blueprint for building an unshakable mind. Most of us lose self-respect, not because of what others do to us, but because of how we react. We let their careless actions dictate our emotions and behavior. But Stoicism teaches that every moment of disrespect isn't an insult, it's an opportunity. It's a chance to practice patience, to reinforce your boundaries, and to strengthen your character. It's an opportunity to decide, right then and there, who you are going to be. True power isn't a loud voice or a quick comeback. It's the quiet, steady calm of a mind that has mastered itself. It's the power to choose your response, protect your peace, and live by your own code, no matter what the world throws at you. Disrespect gives you information. It shows you the character of others. Your response shows them yours. The next time you're faced with it, remember the pause. Remember your worth. Remember your standards. Remember that your calm is your strength. Stay unshakable. Stay stoic. If this philosophy resonates with you, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more guidance on the path to inner strength.